My best friend of 12 years has been keeping a secret from me. I don't know if I'm more worried or hurt. I don't even know where to start with this, so I'm just going to type until it makes sense. Or doesn't. Either way, I need to get it out of my head. I, 26F, have been best friends with Cassie since we were 14. We met in 9th grade because we both got assigned to the same terrible gym locker, and neither of us wanted to use it because it smelled like a dead animal. So we just stood there complaining about it until the bell rang and we'd miss the whole class. That's the kind of friendship it is. Was. I don't know what tense to use right now. Cassie and I have been through everything together. Her parents' divorce, my eating disorder in college, her miscarriage 2 years ago that she didn't even tell her boyfriend about for 3 weeks, but she told me the same night it happened. We're the kind of friends where you call at 2 a.m. and the other person picks up without making it weird. I thought we didn't have secrets. I actually believe that. I feel so stupid writing it out. Okay, so here's what happened. Last weekend we were at her apartment doing what we always do on Saturdays, which is make some kind of elaborate cocktail we saw on TikTok and watch reality TV and complain about our jobs. It was a completely normal night. Her phone kept buzzing on the coffee table and she kept flipping it face down, which I noticed but didn't think much about, because sometimes her mom calls a lot and she doesn't want to deal with it. At some point she went to the bathroom, and her phone lit up again. I glanced at it because that's just what you do when a phone lights up near you, it's like a reflex, and I saw the notification preview before it locked. It was from someone saved in her phone as Dr. M, and the preview said, "The appointment Thursday confirmed it. We should talk before you tell anyone else." And I just sat there. Because here's the thing. Cassie told me 2 months ago that she'd been feeling off. Tired all the time, weird headaches, losing weight without trying. I asked her multiple times if she'd gone to the doctor, and she kept saying yeah, I went, everything's fine, they think it's just stress. Everything's fine. She came back from the bathroom and I didn't say anything. I don't know why. I think I went into some kind of shock mode where I just smiled and handed her her drink and we kept watching TV, and I felt like I was watching myself from outside my body for the rest of the night. I went home around midnight, and I have not slept properly since. I've been going back and forth on whether I actually saw what I think I saw. Maybe Dr. M is a therapist? Maybe it's something completely minor and she just hasn't mentioned it yet? Maybe I'm catastrophizing? But the message said before you tell anyone else, which implies she's already told someone. And that someone isn't me. She's told someone. Not me. After 12 years. I texted her Sunday morning like normal. We had a whole conversation about the show we were watching and whether the villain was actually sympathetic, and she sent me 17 memes, and at no point did she mention anything. She sounded completely normal. Either she's an incredible actress, or she genuinely doesn't think she owes me this information, and I can't decide which one hurts more. Part of me wants to just ask her directly. Hey, I saw a text on your phone and I'm worried about you. But then I have to admit I looked at her phone, even though I didn't do it on purpose, and she's going to focus on that instead of the actual issue. I know her. She deflects. She'll make it about my boundaries or whatever, and we'll never get to the real thing. Another part of me wants to wait and see if she brings it up herself. Give her a chance to come to me. But what if she doesn't? What if she's going through something serious and she's choosing to go through it without me, and I'm just supposed to sit here knowing that? And then there's the part I'm most ashamed of, which is that I'm angry. Genuinely, stomach-twistingly angry. Because I have told this woman everything. I told her about the time I cheated on my college boyfriend and felt so guilty I threw up. I told her when I thought I might be in love with our mutual friend Priya for 6 months sophomore year. I told her things I have never said out loud to another person. And she's sitting on something, texting doctors, telling other people, and I'm finding out by accident through a phone screen. I know that's not a fair way to look at it. If she's sick or scared, she gets to tell people in her own time. I know that. But knowing the fair thing and feeling the fair thing are completely different, and right now I just feel like an idiot who thought she knew her best friend. The thing that's really messing with me is that I keep trying to look back at the last few months and recontextualize everything. Was she tired at my birthday dinner in March? Yes, she left early and said she had a headache. Did she seem off when we went hiking in April? She stopped twice to sit down and said she was out of shape, but Cassie runs 3 times a week. She's not out of shape. There was a Saturday in May where she canceled on me last minute and said her apartment was being fumigated, and I remember thinking that was a weird excuse, but I let it go. Was she at an appointment? Was she already dealing with this back in May? I've been her best friend for 12 years, and apparently I've just been receiving a curated version of her life and had no idea. My other friend Devin, who knows both me and Cassie, called me Tuesday night just to catch up, and I almost told him everything. I had it right there in my mouth. But I didn't, because it felt like a betrayal to tell Devin something Cassie hadn't told me officially, if that makes any sense. Like I'd be spreading a secret I wasn't supposed to have. So now I'm just carrying it. I went to her place again yesterday for lunch, and I watched her the whole time trying to figure out if she looks sick. She looks tired, I think. Or maybe I'm projecting. She laughed a lot and stole food off my plate like always, and when I hugged her goodbye she held on for maybe a second longer than usual. I can't stop thinking about that hug. Does she want to tell me? Is she trying to protect me? Is she protecting herself? Does she think I can't handle it? That last one is the one that's burrowing into me the most. Because I went through a hard time in my early 20s and Cassie was there for all of it, and I wonder sometimes if she still sees me as fragile. Like she's still handling me with care even though I'm fine now. I've been fine for years. And if she's keeping something from me because she thinks I'll fall apart, I genuinely don't know how to feel about that. Grateful and insulted at the same time, maybe. I have no idea what to do. I don't know if I should say something, or wait, or ask Devin if he knows anything, or just keep pretending I'm fine every time we text. What I do know is that Thursday was 3 days ago. The appointment Thursday confirmed it. Whatever it is, Cassie has known for at least 3 days. And yesterday at lunch, she looked me in the eye and talked about reality TV and stole my food and said nothing. I'm going to see her this weekend. We have plans to go to a farmer's market on Saturday and then probably end up at her place like always. And I have no idea if I'm going to be able to sit across from her and pretend I don't know something is happening. I don't even know what I want people to say here. I just needed to write it down somewhere that wasn't my notes app, because I've been staring at the same note for 4 days and it's not helping. She texted me an hour ago asking if I wanted to try making that cocktail again this Saturday, or if we should do something different. I haven't responded yet. Update 1. Okay, so I posted that and then kind of spiraled reading the comments for 2 hours at 1 a.m., which was probably not my best decision. A lot of you said to just ask her directly, and a lot of you said to wait and give her space, and both pieces of advice were completely reasonable and completely opposite, so that was helpful, thanks. I texted her back about Saturday. Said the farmer's market sounded good and yes, let's try the cocktail again. Normal. Fine. I hit send and then sat on my bathroom floor for a while. Saturday came. We went to the farmer's market and it was so genuinely nice that I kept forgetting to be anxious, and then remembering again, and it was this horrible cycle. She bought these ridiculous overpriced ceramic mushrooms for her windowsill and made me smell every single candle at one booth and complained about the price of peaches for a solid 10 minutes. She seemed okay. She seemed like Cassie. We got back to her place around 2 and we were in her kitchen doing the cocktail thing, which involved a lot of muddling mint and me getting juice on my shirt, and I had basically decided I was going to wait. Give her more time. She'd tell me when she was ready. And then her phone rang. She looked at the screen and something crossed her face, not panic exactly, more like she'd been waiting for the call and still wasn't ready for it. She said 1 sec and walked into her bedroom and closed the door, which she never does, and I stood in the kitchen with mint on my hands and listened to the silence. She was in there for maybe 7 minutes. I know because I watched the clock on her microwave like a freak. When she came out, her eyes were a little red around the edges, but she was holding herself very carefully, the way you do when you've decided you're not going to cry. She picked up her glass, took a long sip, and then she looked at me and said, "Can I tell you something and have you just let me get through the whole thing before you react?" And I said yes. She told me, "It's not cancer. I think a lot of you assumed cancer, and I assumed cancer, and it's not cancer. It's an autoimmune condition. She's been having symptoms for almost 8 months. She started seeing a rheumatologist in March, they've been running tests, and the appointment last Thursday was the one where they finally had enough information to give her a real diagnosis. Lupus. She has lupus." I didn't say anything for a second, and she said, "You can react now." I said, "How long have you known it was probably this?" She said, "A couple months. Like, suspected." I said, "Okay." She said, "Are you mad at me?" And here's where I should probably tell you that I held it together beautifully and said all the right things. But this is Reddit, and I already told the internet about the time I was in love with Priya for 6 months, so I might as well be honest. I said, "I don't know yet." Her face did something complicated, and she said, I know I should have told you sooner. And then she stopped and started again. "I didn't want it to be real yet. And telling you makes it real. You're the person who makes things real for me." I didn't know what to do with that, so I just went and sat next to her on the couch and we were quiet for a while. She told me more after that. That it's manageable, that they caught it before there was major organ involvement, that she's starting medication. That she's scared but not terrified. That the person she told before me was her mom, which, okay, that makes sense, her mom had to know for insurance stuff. That she'd been trying to find the right moment for weeks and kept not doing it. I asked her who Dr. M was. She looked at me sideways and said, "My rheumatologist. Dr. Mehta." "Why?" And I had to tell her about the phone. The notification. The night I saw it and didn't say anything. She was quiet for a second and then she said, "How long ago was that?" I told her. She put her face in her hands. Not angry. Just. A lot. She said, "You've been carrying that for a week?" I said yes. She said, "God, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, that must have been." And I said, "You don't have to apologize to me right now. You're the one who's sick." And she said, "I'm not dying. I'm allowed to apologize." And then we were both crying a little, and she made me finish my cocktail and we sat there for like 3 hours just talking. About lupus, about what the next few months look like, about why she waited, about how I'd been watching her at lunch trying to figure out if she looked sick. She said, "I knew something was off with you at lunch. You kept looking at me weird." I said, "I thought I was being subtle." She said, "You were never subtle." So that's where we are. She told me. I know now. She has lupus and she's scared and she's probably going to be okay, and I'm relieved and still a little hurt, but mostly just relieved. But here's the thing I can't stop thinking about. Knowing doesn't feel like the ending I thought it would. I thought once I knew what was happening, I'd feel better. But I just feel like the ground shifted slightly and I haven't totally found my footing yet. She's sick. My best friend is sick. It's manageable, but it's not going away. Lupus doesn't go away, and we're 26, and this is just something that's true now. I'm going to help her. Obviously. However she needs. I just need a minute to figure out how to hold this new information in the shape of our friendship. Also, she wants me to come to her next appointment with her. As like. Her person. I said yes before she finished asking. Update 2. Sorry for the delay between updates. Things got complicated in a different direction and I wasn't sure I was going to post about it, but here I am. So Cassie started her medication about 3 weeks after she told me. The first couple of weeks were rough, a lot of fatigue, some nausea, and I was at her place a lot. Like multiple times a week. Bringing food, watching TV, just being there. It felt good to have something to do. I'm a doer when I'm scared. I need tasks, and suddenly I had tasks. Devin found out at some point. Cassie told him herself, which I was glad about because I'd been holding that for a while too. He texted me after she told him and said, "Did you know?" And I said I found out recently and he said, "Okay," and then we had a whole separate conversation about how to be useful that was actually really helpful. Everything seemed like it was settling into a new normal. And then 3 days ago, Cassie and I had our first real fight about it. Not about the lupus exactly. About me. We were at her place and I'd brought groceries because she'd mentioned she hadn't been eating great, and I was making us dinner, and at some point she came into the kitchen and said, "You don't have to do this every time." I said, "I know. I want to." She said, "I know you want to. I'm saying you don't have to." I said, "Cassie, I'm literally just making pasta." She said, "You've been here 4 times this week." I said, "You've been sick." She said, "I'm not dying." There it was again. That phrase. She said it the first night too, and I think she means it as reassurance, but it lands differently every time. I said something like, "I'm just trying to be here for you," and she said, "I know, but sometimes it feels like you're being here for you." That one landed. I stopped stirring the pasta, and she said, "I don't mean that in a bad way. I need to figure out how to be sick without you watching me figure it out sometimes." Does that make sense? And it does make sense. It makes complete sense. I know it makes sense. I still left earlier than I planned and cried in my car for 20 minutes, so that's fun. We texted the next day like normal, but we haven't talked about the conversation since, and I don't know if we need to or if we just let it sit. I've been trying to give her more space this week. I've texted less. I haven't offered to come over. Yesterday she sent me a voice memo complaining about a coworker and it felt like an olive branch, so I sent one back, and it was fine. We were fine. But she was right, and I know she was right, and I'm still stinging from it a little. Because I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was being a good friend. And apparently I was doing it wrong in a way that made her feel crowded, and I didn't notice because I was too busy feeling like I was finally doing something useful. I don't know. The secret part is over. Now it's just this. The part where her life has a new thing in it and I have to figure out how to fit around that new thing without making it about me. She texted me an hour ago asking if I want to come to her medication check-in appointment next week. Not the same as the first appointment, just a routine one. I said yes. I think that means we're okay. I'm just not totally sure what okay looks like from here. Hi there, if you made it so far. Consider dropping a like and maybe subscribing. Thanks. And have a nice one.